Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of No Huddle with Zach Arndt. And today we're going to be taking a look at the LSU Tigers, giving a preview for this upcoming 2022 college football season. New head coach Brian Kelly comes to town after spending the last decade at Notre Dame, along with new offensive coordinator Mike Denbrock, defensive coordinator Matt House. The Tigers have some key players returning this season. Keyshawn Boot, the wide receiver, All-SEC, All-American receiver. Huge boost. I don't know who's going to win the quarterback job. They're still battling going into fall camp, but whoever it is, they're going to have a really good wide receiver number one. Miles Brennan, quarterback, he is returning, along with Jaden Daniels. Remember, Miles Brennan started the 2020 season before getting injured. He missed all of last season. Then you have Jaden Daniels, the transfer from Arizona State. The 3-year starter there had pretty mild success in the Pac-12. His best season was probably his true freshman season in 2019. You have linebacker B.J. Ojulari. He had 7 sacks last year, which led the team. And he's a blitzing linebacker. He's going to be playing on the edge. He's not really a middle linebacker. They did lose some key players. Damon Clark, linebacker. He was in the middle of the defense. He had 135 tackles last year. Corner Eli Ricks. He transferred to Alabama. Probably the best corner in college football. So they lost him. They're going to have to replace him on the outside. Quarterback Max Johnson, the starter last season, he transferred to Texas A&M, go play with his brother, play under Jimbo Fisher. They do have an absolute stud on the defensive line. Sophomore Mason Smith, he was a 5-star defensive tackle in 2021. In his freshman season, he had 19 tackles and 4 sacks. Looking at their 2022 recruiting class, they went out and signed 2 5-stars and 5-star linebacker Harold Perkins, linebacker, then offensive tackle Will Campbell. They also went out and got highly rated 4-stars Walker Howard, quarterback, and D lineman Quincy Wiggins. They also got another O lineman in Emory Jones, and corner Terrence Welch. Looking at the roster, as I already mentioned, Keyshawn Boot, Brian Thomas Jr., and Jack Betch will probably make up the starting receivers. You have Kyron Lacey, Malik Neighbors, and Jerry Jenkins as the 3 backups. They're going to replace all 5 linemen. You're going to see 5 new faces on the O-line. The presumed starters are senior Cameron Wire, senior Tremont Shorts, junior Marlon Martinez, Anthony Bradford, and Garrett Dellinger. Tight end, 2 new tight ends this year, Jack Mashburn, Cole Taylor. Then, as I mentioned, quarterback still up for battle. You have Miles Brennan and Jaden Daniels, most likely to be the 2 battling for the starting job. True freshman Walker Howard, I don't think he's going to be in the competition at the beginning of the season. But say things go downhill, maybe like week 8 or week 9, maybe you see Walker Howard getting some attention for that number 1 spot. Moving over to defense, you have Allie Gay, Jaquelin Roy, and Mason Smith along the D-line. Very stacked, very inexperienced D-line. But once again, there's a lot of talent there. They have Makai Wingo and Sony Fona as backups. Then B.J. Ojulari off the edge. Then one of the best middle linebackers in all of college football, and Mike Jones Jr., along with Micah Bakersfield, the true senior. This is going to be his last season. They also have 5-star linebacker Harold Perkins as a backup. You're definitely going to see him this season when you're watching LSU. Look out for number 4 on defense. At corner, a lot of new faces back here. They only have 1 returning secondary player from last season at the top of their depth chart. They have Mekhi Garner, Jarek Bernard Converse, and then transfer Seven Banks, the transfer from Ohio State. At nickel, I think it's going to be Greg Brooks Jr., Sage Ryan, the sophomore. He was a highly rated prospect in 2021. Look for him to maybe fight for a starting job at nickel. Then the only returning starter from last year's team is Jay Ward, the senior safety. Last year, Garrett Nussmeier, he's also battling for the starting QB job. He threw for 330 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 picks last year. Right now, I would have him at number 3 in the quarterback race. I'd probably favor Jaden Daniels over Miles Brennan, just from a true talent standpoint. Last year, receiving-wise, Keyshawn Boot, he had 500 yards, 13.5 average, and then 9 total touchdowns. Looking at some team stats. Offensive efficiency, they ranked 102nd, 71st in defensive efficiency. They lacked the explosive plays on offense. They ranked 89th in offensive explosive plays. They were pretty solid at finishing drives when entering the red zone. They ranked 25th. Turnover margin, on the other hand, they ranked 105th in projected turnover margin per game. And then the actual, they ranked 64th. They averaged 26 points per game last year, which was ranked 80th. They averaged 368 total yards, which was 91st. On defense, they let up 27 points per game, which was 71st in the country. They allowed only 140 yards rushing per game, which was good for 46th. And they allowed a total of 380 yards per game, which was good for 65th. And all those stats were good for a 6-7 record in 2021, 3-5 in the SEC. Taking a look to 2022, they open up against Florida State, neutral site game in New Orleans. I think that's going to be a win. Then obviously a win against Southern. Mississippi State and Mike Leach come to town. I think LSU is going to win that, along with New Mexico the week following. So they're sitting at 4-0. They travel to Jordan-Hare to take on Auburn. I think that's going to be a loss. I think that's where their first trip up is going to come. Tennessee comes to town. I have the Volunteers going into Baton Rouge and winning that game. So right now they're at 5-1. I have them at 5-2 after that game against Florida. I think they'll lose there. Bounce back with a win against Ole Miss. Alabama comes to town. I mean, the home field advantage, I don't think it's going to make a huge difference. I have Alabama winning that game. I also have Arkansas beating LSU. But I do have LSU winning the last two games, UAB and then at A&M. I think Brian Kelly's going to have this squad ready for that game. UAB, that game should be over maybe by the end of the first quarter, halftime. Get ready for A&M. I think that's a good opportunity for Brian Kelly to finish the season off good, get 8 wins, finish at 8-4, and go bowling. My expectations for LSU this year going forward into 2023, obviously recruiting is going to stay near the top in the country. Brian Kelly's a great coach. He had Notre Dame near the top every season. Maybe not this season, but going into 2023, 2024, I really expect Brian Kelly to get LSU to where this fan base expects and also wants this team to be. That's going to do it for today's video, guys. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I hope you all have a great day. I'll catch you in the next one.